you considered the messages your outfits send? What do you think your clothes say about you? See, style is about the clothes, but it's not really about the clothes. Every day you make choices about what you're going to wear, but what are you communicating? Welcome to Above and Beyond Style. I'm your host, Maria DiLorenzo, and in 2019, I founded MFD Style, where I provide a unique, intuitive approach to personal styling for those ready to embrace a more meaningful look. With this podcast, I'll uncover key elements of where spirituality, psychology, and style intersect, revealing how you can make intentional wardrobe choices that reflect who you really are. So let me ask you, are you ready to transform into your authentic self? Then it's time. Come with me on this journey, and together we'll take your style above and beyond style. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Above and Beyond Style. This is season 2, where I have invited in so many fun guests from a variety of different industries and resources that they have been sharing some of their insights around this intersection between psychology, spirituality, and style. And I've just had like the best time talking with so many different, as it turns out to be, women. And today's guest is one that I'm just so happy to bring on and have you meet and talk and learn from her. We have been connected recently, relatively recently, I would say within the last year or so, through a mutual friend of ours. And it is just such a joy and a pleasure to welcome Rebecca Reid to the podcast today. So let me tell you a little bit about Rebecca. Rebecca is the owner, creative, and certified personal color analyst at Colorpolitan. Now, she grew up near the California coast, but now we mutually share a love for Dallas, Texas, where she is recently located. She has had a fascination with beauty and nature and in the colors that surrounded her from that time in California. Now, Rebecca's worked with many women who've been impacted by color analysis. They could be professional women, students, teachers, entrepreneurs, leaders, actors, moms, all who are utilizing their color analysis knowledge and personal color palettes to enhance their natural beauty, feel more confident, and simplify their lives in so many ways. Now, when Rebecca's not at the Colorpolitan studio, she is married to a lovely man and has 4 boys. And can you believe she had twins first? And she is living in the Dallas area and just loves connecting with the members in her community. So Rebecca, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Maria. I am so honored and excited to be here with you. I admire you so much. I have loved seeing your own journey with your business and all of the amazing people that you are impacting as well, just by being you, but also sharing your wonderful talents and gifts and skills.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
thank
so
you.
glad to be here with you.
Oh, it's such a treat. And we, as I mentioned in the intro, Rebecca and I share a friend. One of my dearest childhood friends met Rebecca, and she introduced me to Rebecca. So I'm most grateful to my friend Carolyn, who I know will probably listen. So The beauty of mutual friendships is what I love is about being introduced to people and all their unique attributes and their talents and skills. And when I met you, Rebecca, it was such an awesome connection point for me, because I got to really see where color, and that's what today's topic is really going to be about, where color influenced your life. So I can't wait for you to share with our listeners today a little bit about you, your background. How did you become a personal certified color analyst? How did this all work for you?
Yes. Oh, well, first of all, your intro was great, because a big part of my love for color did come from growing up in California and seeing the beauty of nature. And, I have memories of driving down the 101 with my parents, to go visit my grandparents, which lived close to Los Angeles. And I grew up around Santa Barbara area, and just driving and being just in awe of the trees, of the the ocean, just the beauty and the colors that existed. And we would also go camping a lot. And So I've always had an appreciation for nature, for colors, and I also actually grew up doing professional theater as a kid. So yes, so um, I remember in with the theater world, before we would start our show, like in our actual practices and rehearsals, that we would have our first like big meeting, the whole cast, the directors, costume designer, everyone would be there. And they would then share about, okay, this is what the show is going to look like, and here's why. So the costume designer saying, here are the costumes. They would show the pictures of the costumes or the renderings, the drawings. They would explain, okay, this is why this is our color theme for the show, you know? And I remember just really grasping onto the concept of color having power from like a very young age in my life because of those experiences, but also that color can create a negative optical illusion. And so, putting a character in a certain type of like puke green
Mm-hmm.
jacket or something like that for this type of person and their actual color, and it would make them look sickly. It makes them look, maybe evil. I don't know. There was a reason for lighting certain characters a certain way. So just understanding the power of color. And so when I then, so as the years went by, I went to college, studied marketing, communications, and theater, and went right into marketing. Um, and once again, understanding color is important. Color has power. Well, one of my friends in this time, like after college, she got her colors done.
Mm.
And my mom had like gotten her colors done in the 80s, I think, like late 80s, early 90s, and was type to winter. There was this 4 season approach to color analysis. But my friend, she actually was like, there's so much more than four.
Mm.
There's not just 4 seasons, there's 12. And so I started learning through her about um, color variations, color analysis, but also like the actual science behind
Mm.
color for people and color theory based on a person's own hue, value, and chroma. And so I'd known about color analysis for probably 8 years before I ended up training. And it was, I mean, the just a random time in my life, sort of. I just had my last son, so I guess not random, but I had my fourth son at this time. And my friend told me, she said, True Color International, who's the gold standard in the 12 tone color analysis method, they're training in Texas. And I was like, what? Right where I live, blown away that I could potentially go and maybe actually learn how to do this method and help other people. Because prior to actually the time of certification, I was in the beauty industry. I was doing different entrepreneurial ventures, helping women in different ways. I was doing leadership development. I mean, there's so much more to the story. We don't have to talk about all that, but it was right before I trained. And I was looking for really, truly my own thing.
Mm.
Like, how can I not work in corporate America? How can I not work for someone else? How could I still add value to people's lives, but learn a skill that would truly benefit others in a
Mm.
great way? And so when she shared about them coming to train True Color International, I just knew like I needed to do this. And my husband, he also was totally on board, which that was awesome.
Mm.
Honestly, training with TCI is like going back to school. So when I trained, it was a 6 month process. It was not just like reading online. It was, I mean, actual, like I am in person training, then working with test clients, learning how color works with people and the harmony and disharmony with the 3 dimensions of color. And so trained, took that 6 months, and then launched my business. And it has been quite a journey ever since. I know we're going to talk a little bit further about color and all the things, but I'm just so grateful to be able to celebrate beauty.
Mm.
And it's like celebrating beauty the way that people are meant to be. It's not about changing people or shifting the way that they look. It's about finding those colors from nature that actually harmonize with someone's natural beauty. And with the TCI method, we look at color on a very deep level. And
Mhm.
so, like I shared a little bit earlier, traditional color analysis focused on the four seasons and still does. Like, are you a winter, summer, spring, or autumn? And people were categorized as like warm or cool. Um, and with the TCI method, what we do is we actually also bring in neutral undertones for people.
Mhm.
So not just looking at warm or cool, but also looking at, is someone warm neutral, which is yellow with blue undertones, or cool neutral, which is blue with yellow undertones, and utilizing the colors in nature. These 8 neutral seasons or color palettes have been added to the original 4, and so that creates 12 tonal color palettes for people that encompass the wide range of beauty, in humans. And um, with our method, it is a personal color analysis method, but it's really, really based on science, the science of natural color harmony, the accurate interpretation of the Munsell color system. Albert Munsell is a color theorist from a long time ago, but his group still exists today. And then we also use full spectrum light theory, human physiology, and psychology to discover someone's natural color palette. And it's a whole scientific draping process. Um, and I mean, it's really amazing. And I do think people are so empowered once they leave and know there's 65 colors for the rest of their life.
I mean, I can just see the magic of how color has been this like thread through your life, right? From
Yes.
those early stages in California through the theater process, right? Working. I love how I find this a lot when I talk with entrepreneurs, especially about the thing that they're really in and working within is often something that has been a part of their life for a very
I
long
love that.
time,
Yeah.
and having that consistency and sort of this, I don't know if there was like a realization for you, like, oh, this is something that really, lights me up and gives me an opportunity to connect with people. We're going to talk more about that. But I
Mhm.
always love to hear, I don't know if there's a story associated, but where did you get the name for your business, Colorpolitan? Where did that
Oh,
come from?
yes. I think like so many entrepreneurs, we like try to think really hard about
Yeah,
our business names, what is
sure.
this going to represent about me? But honestly, for Colorpolitan, I prayed. I
Mhm.
asked God, like, what should I name this business? And that name popped in my mind. It just I saw it. I saw the
Oh,
name.
I love it.
And then it linked together because I thought, okay, well, yes, Colorpolitan. I'm in a metroplex, metropolitan area in the DFW area. It's very large. So many amazing variety of beautiful people here and all their colors. And then it's like color. So
Mm.
Colorpolitan. Yes.
I think when I first learned of you and knew the name, I thought that is so brilliant. I mean, truly, I think it's such a perfect name and one that I think really speaks to not just where your business is located, but obviously kind of what I went to was the cosmopolitan, like the world of
Right.
color
Yes.
too,
The
about the
the
ways that
world of color.
yeah, it all
Mhm.
intersects and all overlaps with what you're doing. And Rebecca, you've highlighted a little bit of this already, but this connecting with other people and helping them feel empowered and bringing out this natural beauty and enhancing this natural beauty that's already there without editing or changing who they are. It's just
Mhm.
helping them sort of rediscover, sometimes maybe even remember who they are through that process. I
Yeah.
would just love to hear you talk a little bit more about that mission in your work and why it's
Yeah.
meaningful to you.
Yes. I do see like in our world today, I think there's so much about like changing the way you appear to like be beautiful, right? And what this what color analysis does is it actually looks at a person and says, "You are beautiful just the way you are." And I believe every person is designed with dignity and worth and beauty, just the way that they are. And your natural eye color is meant to go with your skin color, that's meant to go with your natural hair color. All of your colors are in perfect harmony already.
Mm.
And so it's neat, I think, when women in particular, like in my studio, I work with women and men, but the majority of my clients are women, are able to look at themselves the way that they're naturally designed. And with the process and how we go through it, I think by the end, they really, truly feel beautiful
Mm.
and really, truly can embrace their own coloring and say, wow, I am like, all of my coloring is in perfect harmony. I am beautiful just the way that I am. And with color, you know, or a little bit earlier, I talked about how color can create optical illusions. Some people really don't realize, like, the reason why they might always look tired is because they're wearing the wrong value of color. That's like a light to dark color. Like maybe it's a darker tone that's actually creating like a darkness under their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So they appear more tired. Or it could be that the color's creating like this shadowing or this optical illusion along their cheek line, or I don't know, their face looks drained. I mean, and that doesn't just happen with the value of the color if it's not working for you. It's also the chroma, which is the saturation,
Mm-hmm.
or the undertone, which is, with this system, it's the four different undertones that we work through. But there are aha moments for some people where they're like, no wonder I like don't like the way I look,
Mm.
because I'm actually wearing the wrong colors. And I am beautiful the way that I am. And so when they can surround themselves by the colors that are from nature that go with their natural color harmony, there's like these light bulb moments of like, oh my goodness, like look how amazing I look.
Yeah.
Like I look amazing, I feel amazing, and then I can present myself to the world in an even more authentic way.
Mm.
But it's been so, it's honestly, for me, this has added so much value to my life because I'm able to um, see these people just come alive the
Mm.
way that they are,
Yeah, yeah, that makes so much sense. And, I talk a lot with my clients, especially because with clothing, and as you're talking about the draping of fabrics, right? And it's highlighting or
Yes.
demonstrating certain things in their own natural way. Clothing is such an interesting tool because there are so many women in particular, and I've said this before on previous episodes, that
Mm.
if something doesn't work for them for any number of reasons, it could be color, it could be the fit, it could be the fabric, right? There's a million things that we might put something on and feel like, this isn't right for me. The narrative that goes into many people's heads is that there's something wrong with me because this thing isn't working, right?
Yes.
Whereas the flip side of that is this thing that I just tried on actually is just not right for me. There is nothing
Right.
actually inherently wrong with me.
Yes.
And what I'm
Yes.
hearing you say in this process of discovering your colors and really coming to know and understand and celebrate the color palette that is in perfect harmony with you, there's you're connecting the two dots, right? You're able to say, here are the things that actually will look good on you.
Hmm.
And it reinforces how you already feel about yourself.
Yes. I love that. That goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's
Yeah.
such a powerful, I think this is why color, I often will talk about this with clients too, that color is such an important part of the equation of understanding your own value and worth, because there's so much messaging connected to color. And
Yes.
no, we don't have to go through every color, but like I've seen you post, for example, on Instagram, I've seen you talk about wearing the color blue
Mhm.
elicits feelings of trustworthiness or
Yes.
confidence or a
Yeah.
feeling of safety, because there is something in the blue tone that
Mhm.
allows that sort of easing into something. And so I remember you recommended it's a great color to wear in an interview, for example.
Yes.
So
Yes.
can you talk a little bit more about sort of
Yeah.
the messages behind color or any examples that might come
Yes.
up that speak to you?
Yes. You know what's another good color is green.
Mm,
So the the blues, there's so many versions of blue out there, right?
right.
I mean, millions of different types of blue, but blue does translate peacefulness, loyalty, um, it it brings people at ease. But let's say though, what if you're wearing the wrong version of blue?
Right.
So I can wear like this like deep, warm, neutral navy and it looks balanced for me. But someone else might need maybe a more medium to light version of blue that's a little higher in chroma, or a little softer in chroma and has a different undertone, and that's going to look better on them. And that will translate harmony when they're in an interview or
Yes.
when they're doing something like that. Yes. So even like, I know we're not fully breaking down the colors of like
Yes.
what's this best blue, whatever. But even with color analysis, blue is so good to wear, yes, but it's like when you wear your right versions of blue,
Mm,
because you can still distract with the wrong versions of blue when you're
mhm,
sitting across from someone and they're like, that person looks tired today, even though you're still wearing blue.
mm,
Yeah, that was kind of a little quick thing on there. But let's talk about green.
yeah.
Okay, so like wearing green, think of nature,
Yeah.
right? Think of our beautiful world. Trees, they make us like feel good going outside, even just looking at green helps us to feel at peace. Um,
Grounded.
Grounded, yes. And so wearing green represents that and translates maybe a space of peacefulness for some people. I always recommend don't wear green when you're asking for something, though, because that
Mm.
can translate greed. So green is also seen in
Mm.
our world as um, maybe that, like greed, money, right? So if
Mhm.
you're asking for something, don't wear green. If you're
That's
asking for the
interesting.
sale,
Yeah.
don't wear green, because those people within the, in the room might feel manipulated.
Yeah.
So, but like a counselor wearing green, if you're a counselor, your space, you want your space to feel peaceful, or a
Mhm.
therapist, right? So, and actually my husband, his office, he has these like beautiful um, paintings that have leaves on them. He has like some green accent pillows on his like neutral gray couch. He wears a lot of blues and greens from his palette, and he works with people and helps them, as a therapist. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, yellow. Yellow is a really happy color. Um, Today I'm wearing my mustard yellow headband that's from my palette, so it's one of my yellows. But if I wore a light yellow, you would actually probably be distracted by my headband. You'd be like staring at my headband the whole time, maybe, because the light
Mm.
yellow doesn't work well for me. But in a space, yellow can make us feel happy. Like here in Dallas, we have La La Land Cafe. Or wait, no, what is it called? Do you know that cafe
I
that I'm
don't
talking about?
know.
I think it's La La Land. I think that is what it's called. And um, they have this type of yellow in the cafe.
Mm.
And it's like they chose the best yellow, because I'm telling you, you feel happy when you're there and it's
Love
not
it.
too annoying, you know? So yeah,
Yes.
yellow is great. But see how I'm talking about your spaces, colors in your spaces, as well as the colors that you're wearing. I mean, we
Yeah.
can use color in so many ways.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about this conversation, because it doesn't, and one of the things that I try to talk about that doesn't have to just be about the wardrobe, right? And you're talking about the influence of color in your life, and to look, I love what you said about looking to nature for inspiration in the ways that we connect, and how that might ground us or give us that sense of, self and reassurance, like
Yeah.
all the things that we are looking for to feel as humans, right? And
Yeah.
I kind of want to go into the human part of the work that you do now, because
Yeah.
you are working one-on-one and with groups sometimes, I've seen as well too. So there's kind
Yeah.
of a collective experience, but an individual experience as they're going
Yeah.
through this work with you. And I want to start with, when a client comes to you, I'm always curious about what are the things that they say in kind of the early part of their appointment with you about, one, why perhaps they want to do their colors, or are you hearing any sort of deeper level messages that they're expressing about themselves before they've even begun the process?
I love that question. You know, One of my favorite parts about this is getting to know people.
Yeah.
So a big part of actually the appointment time is the beginning portion where I ask them for their story. I'll
Mm.
say, "Hey, tell me your story, or tell me a little bit about you, or what brings you joy." And then one of the other questions I ask is, what are you hopeful for today?
Love it.
And so I mean, through the past many years, I've had clients from all different walks of life, but I really hope my space is safe, like they feel safe there. And a lot of people do share about some personal things going on. I've seen some clients who've, walked through really hard divorces. And so
Mhm.
they've come because they want to feel empowered again, or they want to feel beautiful because maybe they had a narcissistic husband or someone who really was, emotionally abusive, and
Mhm.
their looks were a part of that, like being
Mhm.
torn down in certain ways. So like seeing themselves in a different way, like people come because they want to do that. So divorce, I mean, I've had like moms who are exhausted and they just want to feel beautiful in their um leggings and t-shirt. So they're like, I want to like have the right colors so I can just feel good even though I didn't sleep last night and I'm tired, and you know, they're still trying to figure out who they are, but now in a
Mm.
different season of life. So like people like that, I've worked with, you know, actually I had one client, she wrote me the sweetest email, and she was a little quiet during the whole process. But I can tell, some people they're internal processors, right? Or
Mhm.
external. So I knew she was processing. I knew she enjoyed it, but she wrote me the sweetest email later and said, I didn't tell you this while I was there, but she shared something about something in her life that has been really hard. And she said she then went and saw her therapist and realized that this actually was a form of therapy for her, coming to get
Mm.
her colors. And yes, and like I can't
Sure.
go into that whole story, but that was really like gave me an aha moment of like, this goes so much deeper
Mm.
than just what what colors to wear, or let's simplify your wardrobe, let's find your right makeup, let's decorate your home with your colors. There's so much more, because it really does go to the human, of who someone
Mm.
is, but their beauty is also a part of them,
Yeah.
you know? And again, just embracing the way that someone's designed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that, because there's such a key piece of this with all of my guests this season. I want listeners to really see the thread that's happening here about, on the surface, this work
Mhm.
can stay on the surface, right? Like,
Right.
as you just named, right? But there's also something that can be quite transformative for people when they start to see themselves differently, or
Mhm.
kind of put on a new set of glasses, or those new lenses, right, about who they are and what they can be and bring into their lives. And I think sometimes the work that you do feels like a catalyst for me to help
Mhm.
people kind of get that jump start of, whether it's reconnecting with themselves, or moving through a transition, or finding and rediscovering an aspect of themselves that they want to celebrate and highlight again. Like, there feels like this sort of full circle thing that can happen, and you're on this really beautiful part of the beginning that sometimes,
Mhm.
are you feeling this? Am I
Yeah.
accurately describing this, right? Like,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. No, and honestly, it's so encouraging to me, because you're right. I mean, I do see, like, I absolutely see that. And when you just said that too, like at the beginning, I was just, well, what you just said, like working with someone, even at the beginning of that stage,
right.
and thinking of how a lot of recently, probably this past year, I've had a lot of moms bring in their daughters.
Hmm.
And that's been really neat, because I think about how, if you can know your colors earlier in life, how that helps you, feel the way you present yourself to the world, all the things. But what about job interviews? What about maybe if someone does get married, knowing their best version of white? What about,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
using their colors in different ways is so fun at this earlier time of their life. But then, like, I've even had, I mean, even this past weekend, a lady who's, I think she's in her 70s come, and oh my word, Maria. so she did the traditional color analysis years ago, was typed a completely different palette than she is. And with this method, if she would have come to me years ago, because of how deep this color analysis method goes, I would have still gotten the result that I got this weekend,
Mm.
just so you know. Okay. So all that to say is not because she's aged that her palette changed, because your colors are meant to go with you from birth until you pass
Mm.
away. Like, and so, but she was like, I've always been drawn to these colors that were in her palette. So I learned this at the end. Um, but she never wore them because she was told so long ago that like this was her palette. And so she's like, my whole life I've been like fighting my real colors, my real authenticity, and she's in her 70s. So like seeing someone at that time of life is such a beautiful
Yeah.
thing as well, and she's embracing her beauty in a new way.
Yes.
So
Well, I love that too, because I think many people will resonate with this feeling of like, we're such rule followers. Like if somebody tells us XYZ and you're like, okay, but XYZ doesn't feel right, but I'm just going to keep doing XYZ. And it's like, well,
right.
no. So you're intuitively, this is another
Yeah.
part of what I
Yeah.
think you're really helping draw out of people is that intuitive knowing of like, she probably knew from an early stage that there was something not quite right
It was
about that
off.
palette, right? And so when
Yes.
she came into sort of this fuller discovery of what probably felt very at home, at ease for her, right? There was sort of a kind of a coming back to that she was able to recognize and see in her color palette after working with you. I just feel like that gives people this permission to say like, gosh, like no regrets here, but like, let's really listen to those internal knowings about, what we know
Yes.
is good and right for ourselves. So I love
Yes.
that story. I think that's so beautiful. Rebecca, one of the things that I hear you say, and I'm curious if there is, um, you mentioned this client who really started to see this process as sort of therapeutic and helpful and supportive to her life. I firmly believe that when someone comes to know, and in my world, this is through clothing,
Yes.
that they can dress themselves in a way that really helps them show up to be their most authentic self.
Mhm.
It gives them that courage and knowing of self-worth and
Mhm.
self-love and the sort of like, again, coming back into your own in a way that feels like I'm worthy, I'm deserving, right?
Mhm.
I'm valuable. So I'm curious, I'm sure you can think of probably millions of clients at this stage, but like, is there a client or two who can remain nameless, but that come up when you think about their story? Did
Mhm.
they feel that sense of self-worth and self-love after coming through this process with you?
Mhm. Yes. Yes. And actually one lady in particular comes to mind with that question you just asked, because I remember, again, it's like feedback later,
Yeah.
so a lot of people, they'll either text me, maybe they'll send me pictures, or because after the process, I give them other tools for how to then utilize their color palette.
Love it.
I give them a lot of details. There's so much more that comes their way besides the in-person experience, which I think is very important for someone to not just be told like online what their
Yeah,
color palette is,
sure.
but to actually come and experience a process to really see it for themselves. But she wrote me a message later, and she said, it's kind of like along the lines of like her whole life,
Mm.
she's been living um, like quietly, like, but she's like known that she needs to be a little more bold in life. And her actual palette, she's a dark winter with our
Mm.
12 tone approach, which means her palette is a little higher in chroma. It's winter with autumn influence. It's medium or actually it's dark in value, but a little brighter of a palette.
Mm.
And she was like my colors actually represent, I think, what I'm called to be in this world is a little more bold, a little more out there. Like, yes, right. Like I have I have things to share that I just won't share. And yeah, that was really neat
Mm.
uh to see that and to read that, because it went back to like who she be like
Yeah.
in the world and how she wants to show up. But her beauty is that way. And
Yeah.
so now it's like showing up that way. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
love
that's
that. Oh,
yes, but I mean other stories too. Yes, of just feeling um beautiful again, and like going against what culture tells us of like you have to put on this filter, you need to change yourself, you need to go with the trends, doing this, doing that. It gives people permission to say, no, I don't.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can just be me and show up authentically the way I'm designed, but then like add in the style that brings me joy, right? That looks good on my body type, right? I mean, and that's the
Hmm.
world you are in, is bringing that value in through style. Um, but just showing up the way you are designed is a great way to live, you know?
Oh. And I think this is such an important thing for people to know and recognize that we're all within this, particularly if we live in North America, that we live in a consumer culture that is predicated
Yeah.
upon the belief that who you are and what you have isn't enough, right? That there's a product you need to buy, there's a thing you need to have, there's a procedure you need to have done, right? And that keeps our society going, right? So I'm not making a commentary on economic, process, but I am saying that there is something inherent in that
Yes.
teaches us that what we've got going on initially isn't enough, or isn't worthy, or isn't,
Good
there
enough.
needs to be a change, right? So I am curious for you, and I know you personally, so I know that this is a part of your story on some level, but I want to know about, is there a spiritual connection for you in this work and why it's meaningful to you?
Yes. Yes. There definitely is. Um, I think going back to like, it's like looking at the human race and thinking we're designed with dignity and worth. And, there's a lot of like darkness and hardship and really hard things in our world, people doing not so great things. And um, I love light. Not
Mm.
only like the light of God, like spiritual light and like Jesus in my life, but how light just eradicates other things,
Mm.
you know? Um, and light, color is light. That's what color is. And so I mean, that's like a whole other talk in and of itself. But yes, there is a spiritual component for me um, with this. And again, like for people to feel like they are designed with purpose and perfectly the way that they are in their beauty, because we're just told that we're not all the time,
Yeah.
and from a lot of different directions. Um, but yeah, and then honestly, even thinking of harmony, like nature in the world still presents harmony through color. So like harmony and disharmony.
Yes.
So think of the beautiful colors of the jungle, right? The saturation. I mean, it's just beautiful. Think of the Grand Canyon, which is my place because that's actually my color palette. The Grand Canyon is these like deep, warm or warm neutral undertones, and dark value, beautiful saturation. But even with those aren't meant to go together,
Right.
right? They're designed in their own perfect way in the world.
Mm.
And so it's the same for people. We have colors that are meant to go with us, colors that are not meant to go with us. Um, I don't know. I feel like I kind of jumped around all over the place there, but
I thought that was so beautiful, actually, how you said it, because there is, I think in the end game, what I hear is there's such purpose and such intention behind your work. And I think anybody that has met Rebecca or knows her or is able to be with her in person, like, you are such a bright light. Like, your energy is so full and welcoming and approachable, right? I think all of those pieces just add to exactly what you've said. And I think not only is it in the way that you're obviously treating and welcoming your clients, but again, the belief behind what you do. And I just think there's such beautiful harmony in that too, Rebecca. I think you've got such a lovely way of this, what can be, I think, overly like heady sometimes when I hear about like the scientific aspect of
Yes.
all of color. So some people are going to love all that and other people might
Yes.
like zone out on all of that, right? But you have created such a personalized experience for people through this that I just love that there's like an educational component, there's a heart component. So I just am so grateful to you for being part of this podcast today, because I've learned so much and I continue to be so inspired by the work you're doing.
Well, thank you. I always learn from you.
Thank you.
And truly, you are a shining light
Thank
in
you.
your spaces. And I'm always inspired by you, always. So
Thank you, friend.
even this conversation, I mean, I have great takeaways from things you've said. You.
So this is why it works well to have, reciprocity and all this. So Rebecca, I'm sure that people listening will want to know, how can they find you, connect with you, learn more about what you're doing? What's the best way for them to connect?
Yeah, so I try to be active on Instagram. So you can find me. My Instagram handle is Colorpolitan. You can find my website, colorpolitan.com. And I am on TikTok, not very active, but I am there. You can find me also at Colorpolitan on TikTok. But yes, those are the spaces. Facebook as well. I do have a business page.
Amazing. And I will be sure to include all of that in the show notes so you guys can connect with Rebecca. And if you are in the DFW area, she is really someone you would want to meet and connect with and learn. And if you have the opportunity to do a color personal analysis with Rebecca, I would highly recommend it. I think it would be really great. So Rebecca, thank you for your time. I'm so grateful to have you here.
Thank you. This was amazing. I appreciate you so much.
Yes. And everyone, thank you so much for listening in. I so look forward to connecting with you next time. Hey there. I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you more about MFD Style, my wardrobe consulting business. I've been styling professionally for nearly 15 years, and it truly is my life's passion and purpose. In fact, my mission is to help you develop a confident and authentic signature style, breathe life into your existing wardrobe, and help you fill in with perfect, versatile pieces that are in line with your style and budget. And yes, all of this can be done both in person or virtually. This experience can transform your life. I have seen it happen countless times. And all you have to do is take that first step. Set up a free 30-minute consultation call with me, and we can start this journey together. You deserve to have a wardrobe that mirrors who you are, and I am so ready to help make that happen. You can find me on the web at mfdstyle.com. Thanks so much for listening today. If you enjoyed what you've heard, I would appreciate you taking the time to leave a review on the podcasting platform you're using, and share this episode with others who you think might really enjoy these conversations about personal style. For more information all about MFD Style services, you can find me on the web at mfdstyle.com, on Instagram at mfd_style, where I post almost 5 days a week, or send me an email at maria@mfdstyle.com. I also have a weekly email I send to subscribers, so I will include the link to that sign up in the show notes. So until next time, friends, remember to love yourself and then love yourself some more.